we put together a report in the spring about Sadiq Khan's quite outrageous claim that 4,000 Londoners are killed each year in London. And this is, if you take it at face value, that's a really frightening number. That's a huge number of people to suddenly drop dead because you're taking unnecessary and selfish journeys. So this is obviously something of an obstacle for us if we value the freedom that's given to us by the motor car. So we had a conversation about how we were going to address this. Well, it's actually quite simple. We took the instructions of a young Swedish activist and we followed the science, right? And we went right to the bottom of the science, and it said, to quote our friend Nigel Jacklin, it's complete bollocks. 4,000 people do not die a year. What they call it a statistical construct. So I'm not going to go into that, right? The scientists were saying, do not use deaths as a metric of risk. So it's quite straightforward. Sadiq Khan is lying. So more than this, though, we wanted to work out what is important to health, what is important to people's lives. And it turns out that every year, for the last 50 or so years, people's lives have been increasing by 73 days each and every year. Every single person. Your life gets longer, your expected life gets longer by 73 days. And the only effect that you can say that air pollution has on that is to reduce it by about 64 hours a year. So if there's a problem here, because if the motor car is essential to the factors that make lives longer, then throwing away the motor car, throwing away our freedoms, may have negative health effects. And it turns out that by far, the biggest the predictor of health in the world, at every level you look at it, is wealth. The people who have more money live longer, and it's not an accident. There's no mysteriousness about it. They have bigger, nicer houses, they have more opportunities to live healthy lifestyles, and so on and so forth. So if you take people's cars away, you're taking people's ability to get to work, you're taking their life experiences away from them, and they will just be trapped in their unhealthy environments and won't be able to change their circumstances, and so on and so forth. So this has been very useful, this report. And people probably say, why are you writing a report? All reports just go in the bin, right? MPs ignore them. But that's not true. What we're doing is we're consolidating all of the technical information that exists so that we can pass it out to people who want to get involved in these campaigns. And we're putting it in front of journalists. And eventually, although it may go in 99% of the bins, it doesn't go in 1% of the bins. And it opens someone's eyes, it piques someone's interest who wasn't previously interested or wasn't previously motivated to see what an extraordinary scandal and a scam this actually has been. We're working now on a new report, not necessarily a scientific report, but a report that looks at how those kind of lies, those kind of scams, those fibs from the likes of Sadiq Khan get presented into public life as unimpeachable fact. And that, of course, takes us on to net zero, which I believe there is a vote about shortly. Now, net zero is what underpins all of this. And the reason for that is because local authorities have taken it upon themselves, in many cases, to take net zero further, faster, and quicker. Those should be a triplet we can remember from a certain plague that we were all afflicted with recently. They want to go sooner, faster, deeper than the government does. That's the only opposition that exists. So they've signed pledges with organizations that need a lot more scrutiny than they get from the press and from mainstream politicians. And so, of course, restricting people's use of the car is the easiest way, and as far as policymakers are concerned, to get to net zero. And that's an ambition that they want, regardless of what the public want. They want to ban boilers, they want to ban cars, they want to ban meat. Net zero, it seems to me, therefore, doesn't really have as much to do with the environment as it does to do with giving the opportunity for those people who want to ban things, those opportunities, right? So what we're really talking about, net zero, is about completely reorganizing people's lives and lifestyles, whether they want them or not. They want to radically change society, no matter what society thinks about its own future. It's for your own safety. It's to minimize risk. It's to flatten the curve. So we know the script. We've been through it all very recently. So that all sounds quite bleak. So what I will say is, I've been doing this for 20 years or so, and I've never seen such an opportunity in terms of what's happening now, the government sort of wobbling, the opposition wobbling on these things, but that's not enough. And there's never been, and this is the great thing, such a movement as Together that's capable of giving it that final push and making the wobble turn into something more catastrophic. Thanks very much.